Beneath the surface of the earth, buried under thousands of years of dust and rubble, lies a secret most people never think about. The oldest city on the face of the planet. Not Rome, not Athens, not even Jerusalem. Jericho. Nestled in a lush oasis near the Jordan River, far below sea level, in one of the lowest and hottest places on earth, Jericho has been inhabited, by some estimates, for over 10,000 years. Long before Abraham. Long before the pyramids. Long before writing itself existed. They called it the City of Palms, and it earned that name. Surrounded by desert wilderness on every side, Jericho sat like an emerald in the wasteland, fed by a natural spring that never ran dry, even in the harshest droughts. Date palms, fig trees, fields of grain. In a land where water meant survival, Jericho had more of it than almost anywhere else in the region. It's no wonder that whoever controlled Jericho controlled the gateway into the entire land of Canaan, and that made it a target. By the time of the Exodus, Jericho stood as a fortified stronghold. Massive walls encircled the city, some estimates suggesting they stood over 20 feet high, with towers rising even taller. To any outside observer, Jericho looked utterly unconquerable. A city that had weathered centuries could surely weather anything. After 40 years wandering the wilderness, the people of Israel stood on the far side of the Jordan River, staring at those walls. Their leader, Moses, had died just before reaching this moment. Now Joshua stood in his place, tasked with leading an entire nation into a land defended by cities exactly like this one. Before the battle came, 2 spies were sent into Jericho to assess the city's defenses. They found shelter in the home of a woman named Rahab, who lived built directly into the city wall. When soldiers came searching for the spies, Rahab hid them beneath stalks of flax on her roof and lied to protect them. In return, she asked for one thing: that when Jericho fell, her family be spared. The spies agreed. A scarlet cord tied in her window would mark her house as the one to be passed over. Then came strategy for battle, and it was unlike anything in the history of ancient warfare. No siege towers, no battering rams, no catapults. Instead, God gave Joshua a set of instructions that must have sounded to any military mind like complete madness. March around city, once a day for 6 days. Priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant at the center of the procession, 7 priests blowing ram's horn trumpets, the entire army following in silence. No war cries, no weapons drawn. Around and around the walls of the most fortified city they had ever seen. Inside Jericho, the people watched this strange procession day after day. Silent soldiers, blaring trumpets. No attack, no explanation. Can you imagine the tension building inside those walls? The confusion, the fear of not knowing what was coming or when. Then, the 7th day. This time, the army did not march once and stop. They marched around Jericho 7 times. 7 full circuits beneath the desert sun, dust rising with every step, trumpets sounding without pause. And after the 7th time around, Joshua gave a command that broke the silence of 6 days. Shout, for the Lord has given you the city. The trumpets blasted. Every voice in that army shouted at once. And the walls that had stood for centuries, walls thick enough to have homes built directly into them, collapsed. Not undermined by siege equipment, not battered down by force. They simply fell. The city that had seemed unconquerable for millennia was taken in a single moment. True to their promise, the spies found Rahab's house, marked by the scarlet cord in the window, and her family alone was spared from the destruction that followed. A foreign woman from inside enemy walls, who chose faith over fear, found herself grafted permanently into the story of Israel. Generations later, her name would appear in the lineage leading to King David. and beyond that, in the genealogy of Jesus himself. Jericho did not stay in ruins forever. The city was rebuilt in the centuries that followed, cursed by Joshua's warning, yet still occupied again and again throughout history, its natural spring proving too valuable to abandon. By the time of the New Testament, Jericho had grown once more, this time under the influence of Herod the Great, who built a lavish winter palace here, escaping Jerusalem's cold in favor of Jericho's warm, fertile lowlands. It was on the road leading out of this very city that Jesus would later encounter a blind beggar named Bartimaeus, restoring his sight after he refused to be silenced, crying out for mercy as the crowds tried to quiet him. And it was here, too, that a short, wealthy tax collector named Zacchaeus climbed a sycamore tree, desperate simply to see Jesus over the heads of the crowd, never expecting that Jesus would stop, look up, and invite himself to dinner at his home that very day. Two varied men, a blind beggar and a wealthy outcast, both overlooked by the crowd, both encountered personally by Jesus in the streets of Jericho. Today, archaeologists still dig through the layers of this ancient site, uncovering city built upon city, civilization stacked upon civilization, going back further than almost anywhere else on Earth. 10,000 years of human history, walls that fell in a single shout, a woman who chose faith over fear, a city that outlived empires, only to become centuries later the backdrop for another kind of miracle entirely. The oldest in the world, and proof that no wall, however ancient, however mighty, stands forever against the purposes of God. 10,000 of history, walls that fell in a single shout, a city that outlived empires and still speaks today. If this story moved you, there's more waiting. Every ancient city holding another piece of the greatest story ever told. Subscribe to Scripture Streets and walk with us into the next one.